Hello there. Yes, we are back again. We are Geeks Assembled, and we have assembled here today for another music box. Yes, another one, and this time we're doing the Beatles. In fact, we're doing their album. We're doing their album, and I completely forgot what we're doing the album on. It's Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Yes, I got there in the end. And let's see what Craig has to say about this album. Go ahead, Craig.
This album's my favourite album in the collection. But I'm going to do something off topic, and I'm going to go through the top 5 Beatles references in gaming history. So number 5 is Beetle from Zelda. He was obsessed with Beatles insects, and the origin of the Beatles name comes from the silver beetles. And what can you earn in his ship shop? A silver membership. Number 4 is Star Fox. There's actually 4 of the main characters, just like the Beatles. Both had titles with the number 64 at the end, and both stars have surnames that start with a Mac. McLeod, McCartney. There is a villain, not a villain, Mr. Hound, who used to be a sergeant, General Pepper, which is a reference to the best album, the Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Band. And General Pepper, he closely resembles the Red Guard of George Harrison, which features on the cover of that particular album. Number 3, Ringo Starr. In Conker's Band for a Day, the band playing are called the Weasels in the background. Please stop laughing. And it is made by British developers Rareware. Number 2, John Lennon. Fable 3 and Fallout New Vegas both mention the Beatles songs. We Can Work It Out, Day Tripper. And also a Flash PC game, which was online a few years ago, called TARDIS Tennis. And it's a Doctor Who BBC Sport crossover, where noble British figures from the past 500 years play tennis at Wimbledon. So you've got Queen Victoria, Shakespeare, and John Legend, and he plays tennis using his guitar. Number 1 is NES, an RPG game called Earthbound, which has a pub quiz in it. And one of the biggest questions in the game is name a famous Beatles song. And then when you say the answer, yes or no, the answer is yesterday or no today. And overall, I'll give it a 10.
Thank you, Craig. I love Earthbound and I love Star Fox, but can you now give us your review of this album?
I really love the acoustics. My favourite song of all time of the Beatles is Yesterday Anyway, because I remember doing that in music class. I'm not sure if it's on the album, can't remember.
It's not on the album, Craig.
Thank you, Craig.
I'm happy to be here.
Oh, we love having you, Craig. We really do. We really do. Let's go over to Connor. Let's see what Connor has to say about this.
We'd like to take you home with us. We'd like to take you home.
I have to say that was a brilliant review. Yeah, that really summed up my thoughts. I thought it was a great album. I think from what I remember reading about the album, it was Paul McCartney's idea because he wanted to get away from the fame that the Beatles had encapsulated Beatles mania and stuff, and he wanted to do an album through sort of like alter egos. And I think during the album, George Harrison's alter ego sort of appears in a certain song. So my favourite song off the album is probably Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. I'd say it's probably the best well-known song on the album because it's not an album with any singles. But other than that, I think it's a great album. It does weigh in on some topics like Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds is about drugs, which is very, very bad for anyone that does take drugs. Stop taking drugs now. And then you have, I think there's Within You, Without You. That's sort of about religion and stuff, religious philosophy. the Eastern cultures as well. But I think overall, sort of the music itself, it's quite a pop album. It's a bit of a departure from the usual progressive sort of music that the Beatles are known for. Overall, it's not my favourite Beatles album, but still, I think it's a classic. As it's been, it stood the test of time. Definitely, I think it's still, people still listen to it these days now. Like the first time they've listened to it, you know, it's still in the public consciousness. But yeah, it's not my favourite album. I love the cover of this because it's sort of like a collage of all famous faces with the wax figures of the Fab Four in the middle of the whole thing. So I think the album is very abstract and very eye-catching. I think overall I'll give the album a 8.5 out of 10.
An 8.5. Thank you, Connor. Now let's go back to Craig for more of his review. No, I'm only joking. Let's go to Lee. Go ahead, Lee.
It was 20 years ago today that Sgt. Pepper taught the band to play. That was the first line of the title track. This was the Beatles' 8th studio album. It's regarded as one of the first concept albums. And still to this day, it's the biggest selling UK studio album. It's, as Connor mentioned, there's no singles taken off this album in the UK. I think there was some taken off in America, but not in the UK. It was a singleless album. And the cover, as I say, it's everybody knows the cover. You see that, you know, it's Sgt. Pepper. So let's go from track to track, shall we? I'll do my proper review. Right, track 1 was Sgt. Pepper. It's like an opening of concert. They're welcoming you to the album. So, you know, it's, you know, a big build up to the album. Then it slowly glides into track 2 with a little help from my friends, which is a classic song. Everybody knows it. Sung by Ringo Starr, not the usual singers. It was never a hit for the Beatles, but it was hit at number 1 for Joe Cocker in the 70s, number 1 for Wet 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 in the 80s. Brilliant song. Track 3, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. I'm sorry to upset Connor here, it's not about drugs. It's
It isn't.
Everything's about drugs to Connor.
It's not about drugs, right? It was influenced by a drawing that Julian Lennon did at school, and he named it Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. John Lennon took that title because he loved the title of it. It was influenced by the books of Lewis Carroll, Alice Through the Looking Glass, and Alice in Wonderland. That's what it was influenced by, and it's brilliant wordplay. This is John Lennon at his best with his wordplay. I just love the way he plays around with words. Never a hit again for the Beatles, but Elton John had a hit with it in the 70s. Track 4, Getting Better. This is like a positive track about trying to change your life. It's getting better all the time. It just keeps going and going. It's just a brilliant song, that. Track 5, not keen on this one. Fixing a Hole. It feels like it was a filler for the album, so we're like plugging a hole in the album. So not one of my favourite songs there. Then we get to track 6, one of my favourites. She's Leaving Home. This sounds like Eleanor Rigby Part 2. You've got all the, you know, the strings and that lot, and you've got Paul McCartney singing along to the strings, and then you get Lennon's vocals as well. It's just a lovely little song. If everybody hasn't heard it, just listen to that song. She's Leaving Home. It's brilliant. Then track 7, you get Being for the Benefit of Mr. Kite, sung by Mr. Lennon himself. You get a feel of like a circus, a big top. The vibe of this, and it's I think this is it encapsulates the full album. It's the whole feel of the album. It's like a cabaret sort of thing. Track 8, sung by George Harrison, Within You Without You. As Connor mentioned, it's the Indian influence, you know, the dreamy sitar playing, which was when they went to India from Ravi Shankar, I think it was. And then you get to track 9, a fun little song, a plea to spending your life with that someone special in your life. When I'm 64, will you still love me? Will you still need me? Brilliant song. It's just a fun and great tune. Track 10, Lovely Rita. I love the piano on this. This is a brilliant piano on that. Apparently inspired when Paul McCartney got a parking ticket off the traffic warden. That's all it needed to make him write a song. Then track 11, not one of my favourites. Good Morning, Good Morning. The guitar and all that's okay. Lennon's voice, brilliant, but not for me. Inspired by a cornflakes advert, apparently. I've done my research on these things. Track 12, you get Sgt. Pepper, a shortened version reprise, as if to say, goodbye, this is the end of the record, like they're closing down the show. But I don't know why they do that, because it's not the last song of the album. Because you get to the last song, track 13, A Day in the Life. This, for me, is the best thing on the album. John Lennon is at his best on this, with his wordplay, and it's made up of news headlines of the day out of the newspapers. That's what they did. Just took the headlines from the newspapers, and then you get Paul McCartney's little bit in the middle, running for the bus and all like that. And it's also at the end of it, it's got the infamous dog whistle, where it's all silent. You get the dog whistle at the end, which no human can hear, but dogs go wild for it. All in all, it's a good album. It'll be 50 years old in 2017, this album. So it stands up the test of time. Is it one of the Beatles' best? I don't think it is, but it's still a good album. So I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10.
An 8 out of 10. Thank you, Lee. Now let's see what John has to say. Go ahead, John. You muted, John.
What have I done? Am I on now?
Yeah, you're on now, yeah.
But wow, bloody Nora. Yeah, this album wasn't my favourite album, but what I liked about it was Paul McCartney had an idea when he was on the flight coming back to the UK. When he was served his food and that, there was a salt and pepper pot on the tray, and it just come to his mind, like, you know, Sgt. Pepper. And McCartney, he was really, you know, he was really taken over the fact that John Lennon said it was him that who had the idea of the actual album in the first place, and who chose all the songs and stuff. And but it was Paul McCartney's concept. And regarding of the actual cover of the album, the way it was done, it was that 60s deco art. What's his name? Is that famous artist who said you could be famous for 15 minutes? Andy Warhol, yeah, taking it from that. And the music, you know, was groundbreaking, because there was no other band from the orchestra side of things, how they incorporated all of that, and obviously the intro. And yeah, that's, you know, obviously you've said most in your review, Lee, regarding it. My favorite song from the album is what's the one I like? She's moving home. Is that the one?
She's leaving home.
Leaving home, yeah. That's my favourite song on the album. It's so beautiful to listen to, you know. But obviously, there's a few good numbers, but it's not my favourite album and the White Album's my favourite for the Beatles. But I think because nobody else had put an album, no other band had put an album together like this before. It was unique in the day, and it was groundbreaking as well. So, yeah, I'm going to give this. I'll give it an 8 out of 10 for my review. But I'll come back more a bit later regarding reviews on some of the other songs. It's just that it was such a long time ago when I particularly heard this one, and yeah, so that's me for now.
Yep, an 8 from John. So let's go over to Alex, see what Alex has to say. Go ahead, Alex.
Yes, I've been trying to think of it. There's a lot of songs that I like on the album. It was one of the first concept albums. I guess they spent over 300 hours making the music for this album, and it shows. It is not my favorite. I pretty much like 6 songs from almost every Beatles album anyway. But I do like the Sgt. Pepper. I do like the She's Leaving Home. I do like Getting Better. The other one I like is The Benefit of Mr. Kite, and with its circus, calliope kind of sound to it. And that was another thing that was very interesting about the Beatles and their last few albums, is that they really seem to catch a mood and an emotion, and they seem to sort of get very high concept and bring you into their world, and I think that's probably why. And they do it very simply. They do it with a lot of instruments. There's not a lot of techno in most of that, and some of the technology wasn't even around back then. But they're still popular today, and it's going over 50 years, so a lot of people love their music. I always have. The minute I heard it, I was even singing other songs that I knew when I was a kid, when I hadn't really heard the whole album yet. So I would give this an 8, probably give the other albums different scores depending on what I'd like. But, it's wonderful that they came into the world. It's wonderful that they raised the bar so high.
Another 8. Thank you, Alex. Now let's all salute for Sergeant Susan. Go ahead, Sergeant Susan.
Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Well, I really would like to say that, contrary to Lee's theory of this album, this is probably one of the first forays into the mind-altering substances for our dear friends John, Paul, George, and Ringo. They went a long way with the mind-altering substances in this album. Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, the song, the way it's layered, is very, very, very psychedelic. It has the ability to, when you're in that altered state, to pull and push and change, and the way that the music is layered can actually shift your reality for you. It's really and in that one song in the very beginning of the album, they have altered your state of consciousness. And I mean, even for a sober person, 20 years after I last took a mind-altering substance, it still pulls me. It's amazing. I really love the Beatles. I love how they had the integrity to put all their experiences into the music. Yes, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds is inspired by his son's picture, but it also, the way that the letters line up and everything in the name, it does hint. I mean, it's the wordplay thing at its apex, rightly, but it is, hinting at something different. Anyway, that was, and the best version I ever heard of that song was done by the Grateful Dead at the Meadowlands in New Jersey. I saw them on June 18th, 1995, right before Jerry Garcia passed away, and it was so trippy. Oh my goodness, that song is gorgeous. It's rich. It'll forever shake my insides upside down and send me on a trip. Anyway, yes, I love She's Leaving Home because wait, first of all, getting better all the time. Wow. Yeah. Super positive, super directional, super, this is going to be a thrill for your life. Things are getting better, not worse. It's the antithesis of a dystopian thought process. And for She's Leaving Home with all the sitar music. Wow, outrageous, gorgeous. And for the benefit of Mr. Kite, another version of the song that I enjoyed was on the movie Around the World. No, Across the Universe. And it was done by Eddie Izzard. It was acted out by Eddie Izzard. Phenomenal. But not sung by the Beatles. Let me give kudos. The original song is so much better than the song, the music that they played in the movie. But the movie was fun to watch them act these things out. Anyway, and let me see. Within You, Without You, also glorious. When I'm 64, yeah, that song is one of my family's favorite. Really, we sing it together. We have these annoying sing-alongs when we're going down the road, and my brother and sister used to say, "Stop singing." But no, we never did. We would just go and we would sing, and now they join in as much as they really want to. But it's fun to have sing-alongs to your favorite songs, and When I'm 64 is definitely one of those. And Lovely Rita, sweet song, and Good Morning, yeah, really like the perfect wake-up song. And then the reprise was interesting. Like it was delightful to hear the song reprise. But then the last song, A Day in the Life, I love the build up in that song. Like it builds from old style rock and roll into like wall of sound, like whatever that wall of sound was. It moves it from the 60s into the 70s into the. It actually takes the listener from one style of recording into the 70s style of recording, which was, build the sounds right next to each other, build the anyway, that was like that took you out of one era and into another era of music. And I really enjoyed it. I re-listened this morning and was transported again. But yeah, anyway, I'll give it 8.5, and I will I'll try to come down now. Thanks.
8.5, and she's going to try to come down now. Well done, Susan. Thank you, Susan. Now to me, well, I'm not a big fan of the Beatles. I mean, well, I can see Lee is now going like this. Yeah. I'm not a big fan of the Beatles, But there's some songs that I do recognise on here, and there's songs on here that I've never heard of. My favourite one on this album is Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. I've always liked that song. I've heard that song many times. I like the Sgt. Pepper one and the With a Help from My Friends. I like that one as well. That one's good. There are some I don't like that whole one that he was mentioning as well. I don't like that one. There are a few others. I liked When I'm 64, what Susan mentioned. I like that one. So there are some on here that I like, but they're, like I said, some on here that I've never heard of. I've only heard of probably the typical ones, like everybody's heard of Lucy and Diamonds, haven't they? I think so, bound to have. So I think from me, I'm going to give it, I think I'm going to go with a 7.5, because I didn't like them all, but there was some that I really like. So I'm going to go with 7.5. I'm going to open the floor to everyone to speak.
I believe this is one of the only albums to have ever won a Brit Award and a Grammy Award, but not in the same year, because of course the Brit Awards weren't established until 1977, and it was the very first winner of a Brit Award. So it won an award 10 years after its release, which shows that it sort of stood the test of time as well, I think. Because it's very rare that you'd get an album that wins an award 10 years after it's released. So I think it's definitely one of the only albums that's ever won those two awards for just that one album.
I would just like to say that there's certain artists and certain groups that come along in history that change music. If it wasn't for Elvis Presley bringing rock and roll into the public eye and being successful with it, we would never have had John Lennon and Paul McCartney get together because of their love of Elvis. We would never have had the Beatles meet George Martin, who produced most of their albums, and you've got to go with Sgt. Pepper, which was, as it's been said, was one of the first experimental albums. And if it wasn't for them experimenting with this sort of music in the recording studios, what would the music been like? Would it have been still stuck in the 19th, whatever, But you've got to be thankful for those artists, Presley and the Beatles, for changing the face of music, and also what I said earlier about the LSD thing. I wasn't saying it wasn't influenced. The whole album is influenced by drugs. Because it's what the 60s was about. But I'm just saying that Lucy in the Sky was influenced by the first drawings of Julian Lennon's school pictures. But we all know the drug influence of all the words in the album.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else have anything to add?
Yeah, well, I agree. I totally agree with what Lee's just said there, because, for instance, when the Beatles went to India, they were taking a lot of influence from the Maharishi. And the Beatles at the time, for instance, they were the only group that had other artists like the Rolling Stones, and they had the other members from other bands that were in the in the area with the orchestra, and they were all together, and they were doing like backing vocals as well. It was like the sit-in when John Lennon and Yoko Ono had the loving weekend in bed, give Peace a Chance. That you could have added that particular song to the album, but the influence of, for instance, I don't think this album would have been put together if they hadn't have gone to India and had them, the influences that were out there with the Maharishi, and they were saying they were all taking cannabis, taking drugs, and it's right, it was the 60s, that was what was going on, flower power and all that. So all the stuff was being tried and tested. Even Jimi Hendrix, he played. Well, the Beatles themselves, they never ever played Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Live. It was only 3 of them. John Lennon. It was only 3 of them that actually performed it together. John Lennon hadn't performed it live with the other 3. But that was the only one that they hadn't done in a concert. That was the only song, the Lonely Heart Club song, Sgt. Pepper's, and so. It was a change. It was a complete change. And as Susan said about the Wall of Sound, what was his name besides George Martin? The guy who worked with Tina Turner.
Phil Spector?
Phil Spector, yeah. He had an influence on this Sgt. Pepper's album as well. And there was a lot of people behind the scenes that were, but as I say, the Rolling Stones, they were all there. They, you can see them on YouTube. It's genius. It's genius how they how they combined it, and obviously with technology now, things are done so easy. But back then, wow, you know what I mean? The orchestration is just amazing,
The Brian Epstein didn't have anything to influence either, or was he later, or was he earlier?
No, Brian Epstein. He obviously he passed away. I think just before this particular album, was made. But he would, his influence. He would have influenced. He would have had a major influence,
and the sitar music wouldn't have been at all without the trip to India. You're right, John. The whole Far Eastern swell of the songs was definitely influenced by the ragas and the songs of Ravi Shankar and by the culture of India.
Yeah.
True. But the Andy Warhol, there is no Andy Warhol without LSD and the acid test. Andy Warhol basically did the New York acid test, so any of that influence came with Timothy Leary and Andy Warhol. It rides on that train up there. So.
Do you have anything to add, Craig?
What was the Doctor Who episode with the Beatles? Was it The Chase, where they were playing on that?
No, it's 42, wasn't it? Oh, with the episode with the Beatles. There's a Beatles reference in 42, isn't there?
Yeah, there was.
Yeah. It's The Chase. They were on the screen on the big. What was he called again? That big.
In the chase, it's showing their performance on the Ed Sullivan show, I think it is.
Yeah, they were showing some sort of video while they were playing.
On that great big contraption that they never used again.
Yeah, well, there's a few video recordings that still have it. I just can't remember the song, but then the companion goes, "Oh, I love classical music." So.
It was the time visualizer.
Oh, that was it. Yeah.
Yeah, the time-space visualizer, and Vicky was the companion who was like, "I love that classical music."
And it is classical music now. It's classic.
Yeah, it is a classic now. Yeah, it's classical now.
For it will be.
Does anybody else have anything to add about this album?
Is Craig going to give any more of his review?
Well, I was hoping he's got some more gaming references.
I think John should give us a sing-along.
Go on, John.
Do me John Lennon. Here we go, guys. All join in, clap your hands and shake your change. don't know which song you want me to sing from.
When I'm 64.
Hey, I'll be when I'm 64. I'll be 64 in 11 years' time. So
when I was 64.
I don't know all the words to it. I'll have to get the karaoke up on my laptop.
Yeah, let's do it.
When you're living.
That, see, you didn't listen to the album at all, did you, Craig? That wasn't on the album.
Yeah, I know it wasn't.
You just want to live in the yellow submarine
The sky
with diamonds.
Oh God.
Do you know what?
the sky with
did say-
diamonds.
Got a
I
good
did
voice,
say
isn't it?
Keep Leaving Home was my favourite, but it's gotta be A Day in a Life. That is wicked. Day in a Life is a wicked song.
Yeah, because now they know how many holes it takes to fill Albert Hall. Brilliant line. That is a brilliant line.
You know.
So trippy. Wow.
Anyway, before Susan explodes, does anybody else have anything to add about this album?
Yeah, well, let me tell you something. Let me quickly tell you something. When John Lennon died, he went to heaven and he saw Elvis Presley sitting at the piano, and he goes over to him and he says, "Hello, Elvis, how you doing?" And he says, "I'm all right." And then he started ripping his sheet music up. And he says, "What you doing that for?" He says, "I'm decomposing."
And on that bombshell, thank everybody here for joining me.
Well, can I ask a question? I'm sorry.
Don't forget to tell us what you think about this Beatles album. And as always, look after yourself, take care, stay happy, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Trippy.
Alex,
we have grown.
We're still recording.
That one.
Craig, you're